Last video in this line's theory content, project management and the system life cycle. 2 sections, but genuinely complementary. One is about managing the project that builds a system. The other is the sequence of stages that actually builds it. 8 topics. The 2 life cycles compared directly. Project management software. The tools, Gantt charts, PERT, critical path method. Analysis and design, testing and implementation, documentation, evaluation and maintenance, and development methodologies alongside prototyping. Same method as every video in this line, the concept taught properly, then wherever Cambridge's own examiners have actually documented a mistake, that mistake cited. This video has more topics without a documented mistake behind them than any other in this line. 6 of the 13 underlying subsections, honestly. You'll still get the full concept either way, just labeled accurately. Let's start with a confusion the examiners called out directly. 2 life cycles, constantly mixed up. A project life cycle manages the work of building something, initiation, planning, execution, close. A system life cycle is the sequence of stages that actually builds the system itself. Genuinely different things, constantly confused. Here's the first documented finding. Candidates could not accurately name the stages or confuse the system life cycle with the project life cycle. 2 different sequences, doing 2 different jobs. One manages the project, the other describes how the system gets built. Here's the second. From the same question. The examiner noted candidates who only described the stages could not access more than 1 or 2 marks, because the question asked how the stages relate to each other, not what each one is. Describing isn't explaining a relationship. Here is your exam-level question. Explain how the stages of the system life cycle relate to each other, not what each stage is. Then explain the genuine difference between the system life cycle and the project life cycle. Here is the solution. The stages of the system life cycle relate to each other in sequence. Each stage has to be completed before the next can begin, and the outcomes from one stage are what the next stage actually uses, and results from a later stage can send you back to revisit an earlier one for amendment. That's a relationship, not just a list. The genuine difference from the project lifecycle. The system lifecycle is the sequence that builds the system itself, analysis, design, development, and onward. The project lifecycle is what manages that work happening, initiating it, planning it, executing and monitoring it, then closing it out. One is about the system. The other is about managing the work. Project management software supports planning, scheduling, resource allocation, costing, and collaboration. But it's a support tool, not a replacement for every specialized task a project needs. Here is the documented finding. The command word evaluate needs facts about project management software, plus whether those facts actually help or hinder the project, not just facts alone. Real collaboration tools help teams stay updated in real time, but the software can't replace specialized applications like a spreadsheet for financial planning. Here is your exam-level question. Evaluate the use of project management software for a team running a large project. Facts, plus whether each one genuinely helps or hinders. Here is the solution. A genuine evaluation, not just a list of facts. Project management software lets team members collaborate using real-time communication tools, so everyone stays updated as problems arise. That helps, but it can't carry out specialized tasks like financial planning, as well as purpose-built software such as a spreadsheet. So team members still need separate specialized applications for some tasks, adding real expense and complexity the software alone doesn't solve. Each fact paired with its actual effect is what ALevelIT is asking for. Gantt charts, PERT charts, and critical path method all help manage a project's tasks, but each uses genuinely different vocabulary. And that vocabulary is exactly what gets tested. Here's the first documented finding. Deliverables widely misdescribed as resources needed for a task. A deliverable is the opposite. It's the actual output produced, a tangible product or outcome agreed with the stakeholders, not something delivered into a task. Here's the second. Tasks described so vaguely they couldn't gain credit. One example quoted directly was simply, "It is a task that needs to be done." A task is a collection of activities carried out to actually produce an outcome, not a restatement of the word itself. Here is your exam-level question. Define deliverable and task as used in project management tools like PERT. Precisely, not vaguely. Then explain what a dependency is. Here is the solution. A deliverable is the actual output of a task or project, a tangible object created, or a product formally agreed with the stakeholders, not a resource needed to complete something. A task is a collection of activities carried out to produce a specific outcome, not just something that needs doing. And a dependency, the link between tasks where one relies on another, describing one task being unable to start until another has finished. Precise definitions, not restatements of the terms themselves. 3 topics in, and the same underlying skill kept showing up. Not describing something, but explaining how its parts relate. The 2 life cycles, actual difference. Deliverables as genuine output rather than a resource. A task as a real activity rather than a vague restatement. 5 topics to go, starting with the stages that actually build the system itself. Analysis researches what a system actually needs to do. Design turns those findings into forms, reports, and data structures. And staying inside exactly what's asked matters here as much as anywhere else in this syllabus. Here is the documented finding. Asked how an online data entry form helps a clerk enter data, candidate strayed into describing what happens to the data afterwards, out of scope, since the question was about entry only. Concise instructions, shortcuts, drop-down lists, validation, a logical layout, and helpful error messages are what actually answers a question about entry. Here is your exam-level question. Explain how a well-designed online data entry form helps a clerk enter data, staying strictly on entry, not what happens to the data afterwards. Here is the solution. A well-designed form helps a clerk at the point of entry itself. Concise instructions directing exactly where data goes, shortcuts or drop-down lists to speed entry and reduce error, validation routines that check entries as they're made, a logical layout that matches how the clerk actually works, and helpful error messages that explain what to correct rather than just rejecting an entry. Every one of those is about entering the data, nothing about what happens to it once it's been entered, which is a different question entirely. Testing checks a system works before it goes live. Implementation is how it actually gets rolled out. Parallel running, direct changeover, phased, or pilot. And each method carries real, weighable trade-offs. Here's the first documented finding from a healthcare record system rolled out across multiple sites using pilot implementation. Reasons for choosing pilot underexplained. Real reasons. Problems get caught and fixed at one site before the wider rollout, and early feedback can improve training for the sites still to come. Here's the second, same scenario. Reasons against pilot underexplained too. The real drawback. The full changeover across every site takes far longer, so the complete system's benefits aren't available to everyone until that whole process finishes. Here is your exam-level question. A healthcare provider is rolling out a new patient record system across multiple sites using pilot implementation. Explain one reason for choosing this method and one reason against it, both with real reasoning, not just the label. Here is the solution. A reason for pilot implementation. Problems can be identified and addressed at the first site before the changeover reaches other centers, reducing risk to data and patient care overall, and feedback from the first site's users can directly improve training for everyone else. A reason against it, the complete changeover across every site takes a genuinely long time, which means the full benefits of the new system aren't available to all users at all centers until that entire process is finished. Both are real, weighable consequences. Not just pilot means testing it first. Halfway through, and here's the pattern worth naming, a data entry form question stayed strictly about entering data. Anything about what happens to that data afterwards didn't answer the question at all. A pilot implementation's advantages and disadvantages both needed the actual reasoning, not just the label pilot. Staying inside exactly what's asked keeps showing up as the real skill being tested. Documentation isn't one thing. Technical documentation, user documentation, and specifications each serve a genuinely different audience and purpose, and this syllabus tests knowing which is which. Here's the first documented finding. Technical documentation's purpose and contents both badly underexplained. Its purpose, Informing the software engineers or technicians who continue developing or maintaining the software after deployment. A specific audience, not users. And the examiner noted there are many more than 6 items that could describe its contents. Here's the second, same question. Ask for a documentation type beyond user documentation. Most candidates could only describe user documentation itself. Specifications, created during development before the system is even finished, are a genuinely separate documentation type. Here is your exam-level question. Explain the purpose of technical documentation, specifically who it's for. Then, name and explain one other type of documentation besides user documentation. Here is the solution. Technical documentation's purpose is specifically to inform software engineers or technicians who continue developing the system or maintain it after it's been deployed, not end users. Its contents can include far more than a handful of items: system architecture, code structure, algorithms used, data structures, hardware and software requirements, known limitations, among others. And beyond user documentation, specifications, the user requirements specification, the system specification, the design specification, are created during development itself, a genuinely distinct documentation type with its own separate audience and purpose. Evaluation checks whether a finished system actually meets what was needed. Maintenance keeps it working afterwards. And correctly naming a maintenance type isn't the same as being able to describe it. Here is the documented finding. Many candidates could correctly identify 2 types of maintenance, but couldn't go on to describe them. Adaptive maintenance is the benchmark example. Updating software to work with new hardware installed after the system has already been delivered to users. Here is your exam-level question. Name 2 types of maintenance and describe each one. Not just name them. Here is the solution. Adaptive maintenance updates software so it continues to work correctly when new hardware is installed after the system has already been delivered to users. Described, not just named. Corrective maintenance fixes faults discovered after the system is in live use that testing didn't catch beforehand. Naming a type is the easy half of this question. Describing what it actually does in that type's specific case is what separates full marks from partial ones. A development methodology, Agile, Waterfall, and others, governs a whole project's overall approach. Prototyping is a specific technique that can be used inside almost any of them. Worth being direct here. No Cambridge Examiner report. I found documents a specific mistake on this exact pairing. So this is a genuine, common sticking point, not a cited finding. Both methodology and prototyping use words like iterative. Treating that as if it names the exact same single thing in both contexts is the actual confusion when they're operating at completely different levels. Here is your exam-level question. Explain the genuine difference between a development methodology and a prototyping technique. Using the word iterative correctly in each context, here is the solution. A development methodology, like Agile or the iterative model, governs how an entire project is approached from start to finish. The overall structure the whole team follows. Prototyping is a specific technique, evolutionary, incremental, throwaway, or rapid, that can be used inside many different methodologies to build and refine a working model early. Iterative, as a methodology, describes repeating the whole development cycle in rounds. As a type of prototyping, it describes refining one prototype repeatedly, related words operating at genuinely different levels, not the same concept twice. 8 topics. The 2 life cycles compared. Project management software, project management tools, analysis and design, testing and implementation, documentation, evaluation and maintenance, development methodologies and prototyping. And with this video, both this syllabus's theory-only AS content and all 3 of its theory-only A-level videos are complete. The thread running through all of it, across every video in this line, depth over labels, and staying exactly inside what a question actually asks. A switch isn't not a router, it's the addressing mechanism. A pilot implementation isn't just a word, it's specific weighable reasons for and against. Documentation isn't just user documentation. There are other types, each with its own real purpose. That habit will carry you through more of this paper than any single fact will. This syllabus still has practical content, spreadsheets, databases, and more. assessed by coursework rather than a written paper, which is a different kind of video entirely for another time. For now, search Cambridge IT on StudyRevise for the rest of this series, and thank you for working through all of it.